Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Syriana Analysis. I'm your host, Kirk Almasian. You may know me for a few years now. I'm a journalist, I'm an independent journalist, but I also have some dreams. And one of my dreams is to become an influential journalist or more influential journalist. To become like, for example, Tucker Carlson. I'm not comparing myself with Tucker Carlson. I disagree with his thoughts on so many levels. But what I am trying to say is how influential is this guy? And he reached to a point now that you cannot cancel him. Yeah, you can kick him out of Fox News, but you cannot cancel him. He is so rich and so competent, and he has so much connections that wherever he goes, he will be able to survive and deliver his message again. So now Tucker Carlson came with another message he posted on Twitter yesterday at night, and we'll come for that later. But before that, I will tell you why Tucker Carlson was fired by Fox News, right? Tucker Carlson was fired by Fox News for the crimes he hasn't committed and not for the crimes he committed, such as they say he used racist and sexist language. Don't let them fool you. You're smarter than that. Tucker Carlson was fired for becoming a strong voice in a country where the establishment has already bought most, if not the mainstream journalists. Tucker was fired for challenging mainstream narratives, the establishment narratives in Ukraine, in Syria during the pandemic, and for showing the Americans how incompetent is the Biden administration or Biden himself, who is pushing us now to a nuclear war with Russia. So another thing is that Tucker gave platform to anti-war voices, and that's not allowed in the US anymore, in a country controlled by neocon warhawks, right? So before 2024 elections, they had to get rid of Tucker Carlson. That's the reason, in my opinion. Now, after his firing, people started to speculate where Tucker is going to go. Some say he's going to create his own platform. Some say he's going to some alternative media outlet. Some even said that he will not do anything until 2025 because Fox will continue paying his annual salary, which is $20 million per year, so that he just shut up. But apparently that's not the case. Tucker posted a video yesterday night at Twitter, and he shot some fires at the mainstream media. I will show you the video now. You judge for yourself, because after that I will come to how the CNN portrayed the video and why the CNN is going to die sooner than is expected. So this is the video of Tucker Carlson. It's around 3 minutes. Let's watch it together and check what he says, whether you agree with him or not.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. That's not a guess, it's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
So, fact checkers are not here to fact check, but to control the narrative. You are being manipulated by the mainstream media. The news outlets are misinforming you. And there are always limits for what you can say as a journalist or as a commentator. And if you cross these limits, you are going to get fired. Free speech is prerequisite for democracy. Twitter is the only place for free speech, and he will start posting on Twitter. He will post his program on Twitter. And the moment he posted his video yesterday night, I was checking, oh my God, like in 10 minutes, hundreds of thousands of people already watched his program. This guy is so influential nowadays, and I'm not trying to write poetry about him, but he's really influential. And Twitter has become the place for the people who want to discuss political matters. And people like Tucker Carlson, if they move their work on Twitter, I don't know how is he going to generate money yet. Of course, they will be one way or another. I'm not sure about that. The political discussion that some still so-called experts and commentators are still doing on mainstream outlets, the way of this discussion will be completely irrelevant. And people will, I'm talking about ordinary people, because the fact checkers, the narrative controllers, etc., those, they do these things for a career. But normal people, ordinary people like us, they go to Twitter to be informed and to know what's going on around the world. And because if you open your TV channel, you see only one side of the story. And if the TV channels, the mainstream outlets, have shown us the two sides of the story, people will not go to Twitter to see the news. And that's why when the so-called journalists who work for the mainstream media, they keep whining about why people go to take their information from Twitter, and they say, oh, neo-Nazis, radical right-wingers are going on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. That's complete crap. You know that. Of course, there are always these radicals from all sides. But most people are in the middle, and they're on Twitter to be informed. Not all people are influencers, and not all people want to shape public opinions. Most people want to know what's going on around the world. And if these mainstream media outlets are honest with us and presenting to us the full image of what's happening around the world, then people they don't have to go to Twitter. But because they're not doing their job, and because there is a track record now for the establishment and their mouthpieces in the media, track record of lying, right? People lost their interest and lost their trust in the mainstream outlets. Now, I will show you why, for example, they are very dishonest. This is an article on CNN Business. It says, Tucker Carlson announces plans to relaunch his show on Twitter. It's written by Oliver Darcy. I don't know who the fuck is this guy, but I want you to go through this article and see how much dishonest can a journalist be in his or her smear attacks against other journalists because they disagree with him. I mean, you're allowed to disagree with others, right? And you're allowed to criticize them. But there is a fine line between criticism and smears, and you can see in between the lines, and you can see it in the tone and everything. For example, how this article started: right-wing extremist Tucker Carlson. Right-wing extremists. How can you write I would say a serious article and start your article with right-wing extremist. Seriously, man. Right-wing extremist Tucker Carlson announced Tuesday that he will relaunch his program on Twitter, which he praised as the only remaining large free speech platform in the world after Fox News fired him late last month. Carlson made the announcement in a video posted on the social media website, which Elon Musk acquired last year. Musk said Twitter didn't sign an agreement with Carlson for his new show. Twitter has devolved in recent months into a chaotic platform where the traditional press has come under assault from the billionaire. Twitter hasn't become a chaotic platform. It is a transitional period that Twitter is going through because the previous management and the dictators who were in charge of Twitter, who employed thousands of employees to control the narratives and ban people and suppress their tweets, shadow ban them, etc. This is because he's doing a reform in Twitter. So there may be some chaos happens at sometimes, but it's not a chaotic platform. It's being reformed into a better platform where I can already realize the difference in the reach of my tweets. It has become like 10 times more. The amount of new followers that I'm gaining and I'm really putting so much efforts on this platform. So I want to be treated equally, just like any other traditional journalist who works for the so-called traditional press. I don't understand these people who think they are above us. Who the fuck are you to think that you should be treated differently than us? If I sit in front of any so-called journalist who thinks he knows something about Syria, I can challenge them all alone. And they shouldn't be treated and have any special treatments by Twitter or anything else. They're not above us just because they work for CNN or MSNBC or BBC, etc. Carlson demonized the news media in his announcement video, accusing journalists of often excluding facts that detract from their narrative. The Wall Street Journal, which is controlled by Fox Corporation chairman Robert Murdoch, reported last month that Carlson's contract with Fox News was worth about $20 million a year. The newspaper reported that Carlson was expected to be paid out in full. His move to launch a show on Twitter could jeopardize whether he ultimately receives that money. A spokesperson for Fox Corporation could not be immediately reached for comment on the matter. Musk said Twitter didn't agree to a financial arrangement with Carlson. Carlson's decision to relaunch his show on Twitter signals his strong desire to remain present in both the media and politics, where he played an outsized role while occupying like, do you see the wordings? His outsized role while occupying the 8 p.m. slot on Fox News. Aside from former President Donald Trump, Carlson was arguably the most powerful voice inside the Republican Party, with lawmakers fearing his wrath and appearing on his program in a symbol bow to his feet. Come on, man. What kind of article is this? It's so childish. Like, if you were a Democrat, right, or a liberal or so-called left, right? They're not left, right? They're just liberals. If you read this article, how do you feel about it? Do you really feel like this journalist is being honest, and he's presenting you his objective opinion and reporting about Carlson, or you feel like he is inciting and putting so much emotions in his words for you to have very negative sentiments toward Tucker Carlson? You know the answer, right? Carlson was able to achieve that influence by posting high ratings, but his monster viewership numbers were earned through the trafficking of anti-immigrant rhetoric, false conspiracy theories, and the promotion of white nationalist talking points, of course. They are making big allegations here. I'm sure he has anti-immigrant rhetoric at some point. False conspiracy theories. What were the conspiracy theories that turned out to be false? Show us the evidence. And where is the promotion of white national talking points? I mean, he brought people from literally the radical left or the far left, like Jimmy Dore, on his show. Like he can bring these people and that people, right? For Twitter, the addition of Carlson's show is unsurprising. Musk has restored the accounts of many users who had previously been banned for violating the platform's rules, including right-wing figures like Trump and a number of white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And then this journalist finishes his article, submits his article, and goes and he writes a very brilliant article about how beautiful, brave are the neo-Nazis in Ukraine, the Azov battalion, right? Just he finishes this article and went to his desk again and praised the Azov battalion for being brave and fighting against the Russians. Those are the journalists calling us neo-Nazis and fascists. And like far-right extremism, as if it become like a compliment nowadays. If somebody calls you a far-right extremist or radical, you feel like you're being complimented. You feel like you're being on the right side. Am I correct? I don't know. Let me know. So what do you think, guys, of Tucker Carlson's decision to post his program on Twitter? Will it be successful in your opinion? How will he generate money if Musk is not paying him anything? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. But until then, I've been your host, Carlsson of Syriana Analysis. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. And if you want to support an independent journalist like myself trying to deliver a message and inform the people of what's going on around the world, please become a patron. Link in the description below. And see you next time.